Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody, for coming along today. Today is the beginning of the latest InLeeds week, showcasing graduate opportunities in the City of Leeds and the wider West Yorkshire region. We've got, so my name is Tom Davis. I work at the University of Leeds Careers Centre, and I've put this series of events together along with colleagues from Leeds Arts University, Leeds Trinity, and Leeds Beckett. So we've got students and graduates from all four of those universities along today, and we're really happy to have all of you along. It's sort of for both students and graduates, and yeah, we're just trying to showcase Leeds as a great place to work and the range of employers and opportunities that are available there. Later on in the week, we've got Channel 4, FDM, we've got the Civil Service Fast Stream, HMRC, so we've got a really wide range of employers coming along to present. You find all the opportunities and events available on our Eventbrite page or on your respective careers services sort of online portal. So today we've got the first event. We're kicking off with Why Stay in Leeds as a Graduate, and we've got Megan and Josh from the West Yorkshire Combined Authority along to present. The way this event's going to work, they're going to share their presentation. They're going to talk for about 40 minutes or so, and then we should have time for questions at the end. Do feel free to pop any questions in the chat as we go, or you can put them in at the end, and I'll be back to facilitate the Q&A at the end. But without further ado, I will hand over to Megan and Josh.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks to everyone for coming on this webinar. Like we said, I'll just share my screen now. So I've got some slides to walk you through some of the opportunities and exciting things that are going on in West Yorkshire. And then Josh will cover what support is available for graduates and also the workforce as well. So can we all see my screen? Brilliant. So just a bit about us. I'm Megan Noble, and I sit as Sector Manager for Financial and Professional Services within the Trade and Investment team. So within the LEP, which we'll cover off in a second, the Trade and Investment team is responsible for attracting inward investments, so new companies, to the West Yorkshire region. So to give you an example, we worked with Channel 4 to get their UK headquarters relocated to Leeds, and if you go near the Leeds train station, you'll see gorgeous refurbishment they did of the Majestic building. I attended, it seems quite a long time ago now, Leeds University, and I studied biochemistry. And one of the things that really attracted me to the university and made me want to stay in Leeds was that commerciality of all the courses and that connection with innovation and industry, which I think is really reflective of the graduate programmes and the business in Leeds. There's a lot of commercial opportunities here and an abundant workforce. Josh, I'll hand over to you.
Cool, thanks, Meg. Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Josh Rakazen. I work as part of the LEP as a business partnership advisor. So what I mainly do is work with businesses to help them access universities, working with universities on things like resource sharing, hiring students, graduates, that kind of thing. I'll go into a little bit more detail later on in the presentation about my work and the type of businesses I work with, because I think some of it will be relevant to you guys, hopefully. Same as Megan, I studied at University of Leeds, graduated around 7 years ago now, studied English language and literature. I chose Leeds as a city because I really liked the university and I liked, what it had to offer as a city beyond graduation as well. And obviously it's been successful for me. I've stayed here for, over 10 years now, including my studies. So yeah, looking forward to talking with you guys today. Before I worked for the LEP, I worked kind of in the charity sector. I've done stuff around kind of CSR and helping companies achieve their corporate social responsibility goals. So yeah, quite varied work, but it's all kind of been around the public sector and the charity sector while I've been here. Yeah, back over to you, Meg.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Although I studied biochemistry, I moved straight into the financial sector. And I left university and joined a mergers and acquisitions firm working on cross-border investments. So working with European private equity companies who wanted bolt-ons or smaller companies in the UK that would support their portfolio of businesses. So that was really interesting. And then I moved into venture capital. So we've got quite a nice investment funding ecosystem in Leeds. So I was responsible for investing in tech companies up to £2 million. That was really exciting. We'll talk a bit more about the tech sector as we go in. So I think we need to take a step back and really look at what is West Yorkshire Combined Authority and what is the LEP, because we get asked that a hell of a lot. So West Yorkshire Combined Authority covers, as it says on the tin, the whole of West Yorkshire. So that's not just Leeds City Centre, that's Bradford, Calderdale, Kirklees, Leeds and Wakefield. And we have the largest economic area outside of London with a population of over 3 million. So if we look at the LEP where Josh and I work, that is the local enterprise partnership. So we are the part of the Combined Authority that is responsible for economic development and job creation, which is what we're usually measured on. I like to think of it that basically we're the part of the kind of local government public sector which connects with the private sector to help foster that growth in the region. We've got a picture here of Mayor Tracy Braben, who's coming up to her first anniversary in post, who heads up the Combined Authority. So again, this just gives you a bit more of an illustration of the actual geography. Again, we're really well connected and we're very central in the UK. Our connectivity is one of the reasons that a lot of companies come here, because we're far enough from London to be able to justify a secondary presence, but we have got really great transport links. So you can access London, you can access abroad very easily. Again, one of the biggest workforces in the country with 1.9 million people in the working age. We actually have one of the youngest working age populations as well. So that particularly Bradford for this. So that means the workforce, like yourselves, that's going to be really attracted to employers in the next 4 or 5 years because they know that they've got a lovely young, vibrant workforce. So Josh, I don't know if you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So like Meg mentioned, there's obviously a lot of talent in the region at the moment, and future talent pipelines for the region are really strong as well. And obviously that includes you guys as upcoming graduates or potentially even current graduates, some of you maybe. We've got 9 universities, so I know a lot of you here today will be representing those various institutions. Important to remember, like Megan said, we're not just talking about Leeds, kind of the city here, we're also talking about Bradford, Huddersfield, so the universities that are within those places as well. 116,000 students, so really big student population, and obviously our hope is that a lot of those students and a lot of you guys will stay on and kind of become part of the working population of Leeds City Region and contribute to all the great things we're doing here. Further education colleges, we've got a large number of those as well. I won't go into too much detail, but obviously they cover a lot of interesting initiatives like apprenticeships, T-levels, other qualifications for people who are maybe kind of going through studying for the first time, or maybe those who are looking to retrain or re-educate themselves in their certain places as well. 56% of our graduates do stay here with us in Leeds City Region, which is obviously fantastic, more than half, but we're keen to keep that growing, and we'll talk a little bit more in this presentation about the kind of opportunities that are available and the types of companies that are looking to hire graduates as well. And even those who were born in Leeds City Region, lived here for quite a lot of their life and then left to go to university, we see a large number of those people returning as well, which is really positive. You can see on the left hand side some of the institutions we've got here. The University of Leeds Business School is obviously one of the leading business schools in the country, and that's the same for the University of Bradford Business School and School of Management as well. They're both really highly accredited, really fantastic institutions. You see a lot of people coming to those institutions again for kind of first time learning, so to do undergraduate degrees, but also a lot of people who are in business will go and retrain at those institutions and kind of get qualifications from those institutions while they're working. And stuff like biomedical sciences, engineering, physical sciences, the 3M BIC Centre at University of Huddersfield is kind of leading the way with a lot of that stuff. But all of our university institutions, I'd be confident in saying, have some kind of leading research or leading innovation that they're conducting that is obviously incredibly useful for students, but also incredibly useful for the business world as well. Back over to you, Megan.
Thanks, Josh. One thing that we did just look at in the data recently was that I think it's 46% of all graduates are in STEM subjects, which is fantastic because that's really indicative of the kind of investments we're seeing and the kind of talent they're wanting. And again, yeah, this just covers some of the universities and the average student numbers. I think in total, every year we produce 39,000 graduates, and around 17,000 of those are in STEM subjects. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the scale of our kind of talent cohort. So in good company, this is to give you a flavour of some of the big organisations that are here in West Yorkshire. Some really familiar logos there: Sky, Channel 4, Coca-Cola, Asda. One of the things that over the pandemic West Yorkshire has been praised for is its resilience. If you actually look at how investment and how the economy fared, we did one of the best. And that has been attributed to our multi-sector strengths. We don't rely on one particular activity, which makes for a really robust and reliable economy and jobs as well. Two pictures at the top, we've got Sir Roger Marsh with fintech firm Iwakuni that I'll cover in a second. Sir Roger Marsh is ex-PwC partner, very well known across the industry and with government. He sits as chair of the LEP and is a great advocate for the region. He actually sits as the chair for the Northern Powerhouse that covers the whole of the north, but he does have a spot for West Yorkshire. And again, here we've got Mayor Tracy Braben launching the Creative Catalyst, which is a programme for indie TV production, which I'll give you a few more details further in. So I'm going to go through each of the key sectors for the economy, and I'll try to give you a few fun facts or interesting facts along the way. So business and professional services, this is my sector focus, and this is the sector which is most difficult to find interesting facts for. But I love it anyway. So I think the headline is Leeds City Region is the UK's second financial and legal centre, contributing nearly 20 billion of gross value added to the economy. Within Leeds City Region itself, this sector is the biggest contributor and is responsible for almost 40% of the economy here. We are being recognised for this more and more. There's two things that were accelerated during the pandemic. One was that it's no longer a requirement if you want to work in this sector to go straight to London for jobs. We're seeing more and more people already in London or people graduating that decide they want to live in the north. In the north because of quality of life, lower house costs, all that good stuff that you're going to be thinking about in the next few years. Big employers are sympathetic to this, and they are increasing their presence within the regions. If you think about Deloitte, they're doing a big exercise at the moment to grow their Leeds office because people want to live in the region. The second thing that happened during the pandemic is because of the rise of hybrid working or home working, which is still continuing, the salary difference between London and the rest of the UK is decreasing. So if you're worried about salary, they are very much, there's not that much of a difference between London and the southeast and the rest of the UK. So one thing we've really benefited from is levelling up, which we keep hearing again and again and again about UK government organisations spreading their decision making across the UK. So you might have seen, for instance, Treasury came to Darlington. We've been very successful in our bids. So the UK Infrastructure Bank, which is responsible for investing 22 billion into infrastructure to help tackle climate change, is located in Leeds city centre, and they will be looking for 300 people in the next couple of years. Similarly, the Bank of England, and this is a huge win for Leeds City Region, they are establishing their only second presence in Leeds City Region. That will be 1,000 jobs, looking at all aspects of the Bank of England, apart from moving the old bars, which we've been told they're not allowed to do. and there'll be 1,000 jobs, particularly in fintech and regulation. And then thirdly, the Financial Conduct Authority, which is independent, that's made its decision really recently about where it's going to go in Leeds City Centre. And that will be between 200 and 400 jobs in the next few years. So if you are looking for a career in business or professional services, there will be nearly 2,000 new jobs just from these 3 organisations in the region in the next 3-4 years. So one thing I really wanted to pull out as well is that we have a massive strength in fintech. There was a government report last year called the Khalifa Review that looked at all the fintech strengths in the UK. Manchester and Leeds were called the Pennine Cluster, for obvious reasons, and they are the second largest active cluster of fintech activity and growth in the UK after London. We have huge strengths in payments, data, and that is why we're attracting more and more of these firms here. One more thing as well, the legal sector. DLA Piper was founded in Leeds, the biggest law firm in the world, and they are still here, and they've just invested 85 million into a state-of-the-art brand new office in Leeds City Centre, where they'll be relocating hundreds of their staff. And we're actually responsible for, it's 15% of law graduates from West Yorkshire universities, which is impressive. So again, we've got a quote here, a really great quote from Seema Desai, COO of Iwakuni. Now, Iwakuni is it's an up-and-coming online lender. So they are challenging the high street banks and loan companies and providing quick and easy loans to SMEs, so small, medium-sized enterprises. So very much B2B. They've grown exponentially over the last 5 years, and they have invested over £1 billion so far. Now, they're a fantastic case study because they wanted tech talent, and they had a location in London, and they just couldn't get the talent to grow. So they looked at all the available options abroad and in the UK, and they decided Leeds is where the talent was. Particularly in tech, particularly in financial services. They've been set up for 6 months now in their Leeds office, and they're hoping to grow their Leeds office to 60 to 70 people in the next couple of years. So UK's digital heartland. So like as you can see here, over 8,500 tech and digital businesses in the region employing 50,000 people. West Yorkshire is teeming with tech talent. If you look at any of the kind of tech lists, Tech Nation, if you look at Tech Nation, if you look at Tech Climbers, Insider, Yorkshire Post, there's always an abundance of West Yorkshire businesses that are listed there because we're great for innovation. One thing I would definitely recommend is Leeds Digital Festival. So that has sponsors like Google, Microsoft, and other big hitters as well. They do hundreds and hundreds of events. It was being virtual last year, but I think it'll be in person this year. They're doing a mini festival at the end of April. I would definitely recommend looking at that because there's always some great content and themes explored as well. So in terms of subsector strengths, we're actually internationally recognised for our strengths in AI and data analytics. And if you look at the university specialisms across all 9 universities, you can tell why that is. One I will pick out is the Alan Turing Institute. So that's a world-class institute for data science and AI. Leeds University will make a partner of that in 2018 as a reflection on how high quality their work is. And something that I know quite well, so the tech sector, just in West Yorkshire, just in 2020, attracted 120 million in venture capital investment. And that's not including all the big deals, all the big private equity deals that we see in large companies. This is just the startups. Touching on that, something that's really good indication of how strong an economy is what their startup business and scale-up business environment looks like. Last year, we had the largest amount of scale-up businesses in the UK after London and the South East, which is a reflection of how encouraging our ecosystem is for innovation. You know, whether it's funders, whether it's investor readiness, whether it's talent, or even office space, we've got a really fertile ecosystem here for breeding innovation. And again, Pan Intelligence, fantastic homegrown talent. They're actually based in Eden. Most of you might be aware of that. So Eden, data intelligence company, clients all over the world, have raised about £4 or £5 million of investment so far. And Zandra Moore is a fantastic advocate of the region, again, because of the culture and the talent. I would, if you are interested in the sector, there's a couple of subcultures I think you need to connect with. And so one is actually run by Sandra, and it's No Code Labs, which looks at no code and low code development. And the other is RegTech Talks. So that's looking at regulatory technology, which is affecting all sectors now, and also things like insurtech. So I'd definitely connect in with those. So creative and media. This is something we're always really strong for in the region, but there's two things that have happened recently, two developments that have really brought this into the global or national focus. One was the Channel 4's HQ relocating to Leeds. That was huge for the region. The second was the election of Mayor Braben. Obviously, Mayor Braben's background, she was an actress herself, so she's really passionate about the arts and what they can do for the economy and for individuals. So one thing I did want to point out was the Creative Catalyst programme. So that is something that's through the lab, and it's a £200,000 pot to help new indie TV and film production companies to create content. And that is very complementary to Channel 4's offering for independent firms as well. One thing I'd like to point out here is Production Park in Wakefield. If you ever get the chance to go and visit it, I would highly recommend. So Production Park is one of is acres and acres, and they are one of the largest set and stage manufacturers in the world. So I think Beyonce, Muse, Coldplay, Hugh Jackman, they all come to Wakefield to rehearse their global tours. It's the sleepiest town as well, but it is absolutely fantastic facility. I would definitely recommend going to see it. So if we move on to healthcare and life sciences, obviously university-wise, we have huge strengths in this area. I know one of the things that attracted me to Leeds University was the Asbury Centre of Molecular and Cellular Biology. So if we have, as you can see, nearly 200,000 people employed in the sector. We have a particular hub for health technology or medtech, and that is because we have NHS Digital and NHS X here as well. We actually have more health data informatics individuals here than anywhere else in the country. A couple of things that I haven't quite realised about the region is that we are responsible for many game-changing achievements. One was the first double hand transplant took place in Leeds General Infirmary, which I thought was really interesting. But on a wider scale, things like X-ray technology, hip replacement, kidney dialysis, and cardiothoracic surgery, all pioneered in Leeds City Region. And we take that with us, that innovation with us today. Again, we've got a really nice quote from Dr. Julie Thornton from the University of Bradford on their postgraduate environment. So last but not least, advanced manufacturing. So as you probably all know, we have a heritage in manufacturing and in industry. Textiles, agriculture, Leeds and the wider north, very much we're a powerhouse for that. Even today, we are the largest manufacturing base in the UK, which surprises a lot of people. And we have great strengths in both kind of metal bashing industry, but also we've kind of developed a hub in food and drink manufacturing. So there's a few brands that I know you'll recognise. So Quality Street Sweets, 6,000 of those sweets are produced every minute in Nestle's factory in Halifax. I think that works out at 67 million every week, which I think is incredible. And Coca-Cola has a really huge factory in Wakefield, which is home to the world's fastest 2-litre bottling production line, which is a great boast, I think. our talent as well attracts global brands and global firms, even in fashion. So Burberry, a few years ago, established a huge presence in the region, and all of their iconic Burberry trench coats are actually manufactured here. Again, lovely quote from Julie Brown, COO of Burberry. And again, I think when you're looking for where your career and your job wants to begin, you can't just focus on where you're working. You need to focus on all work-life balance, all the things you want. West Yorkshire, Yorkshire, Leeds, Halifax, Wakefield, we're praised again and again for our quality of life, and we're recognised again and again in these best places to live lists that are published. And then again, it's because of the Yorkshire Dales, it's because of our sports, well, global sports recognition, and our retail centre as well. And with that, Josh, I'll pass over to you.
Lovely, thank you, Megan. Are you all right to just go on to the next slide? I'll start from there. Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, so we've talked obviously a lot about kind of the types of businesses that are in the Leeds City region and kind of the type of sectors. And like Megan said, it's obviously really important to think about kind of the area itself, not just as a business hub, but also the people that live in that area, and the types of demographics we have and what makes Leeds City region so fantastic. So Meg's already mentioned that we're a really young population up here. Bradford specifically, I think, is potentially the youngest city in the UK. And we've got, a massive amount of people aged under 20 and kind of young people in the region. That means that it's a really attractive region for companies to invest in. They know that they're going to have a pipeline of really talented young workers who are keen to work and kind of establish themselves in the workforce. So that's obviously a really attractive proposition. Obviously, we all know Leeds and Bradford are incredibly diverse as places. That itself is really attractive in a business sense to companies who want to improve their equality, diversity and inclusion, but it also makes Leeds and Bradford and the wider Leeds City region a fantastic place to live, a welcoming place to live for so many different people as well. So we're really proud of kind of the diversity that we have in our region. Speaking about the LEP, myself and Megan's employer, we're really keen to make sure that we're representative of the areas that we work in as well. When we're hiring, we want to make sure we're hiring people that represent the communities we work in, and we want to make sure we're engaging externally with community groups that represent the areas we're working in as well. And, Black, Asian, minority business owners, making sure they're part of the conversation on Leeds City region, and, are really at the front of driving innovation and growth in the Leeds area as well. So Leeds City region, fantastically diverse place, and that's something that is really integral to kind of the success of the region, not just in a business sense, but in every sense going forward. Next slide, if you would, Megan. Can you just go? If you just go back to the other one, I'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, so top 100 cities in the world for LGBTQ plus community. Hasn't happened in the last couple of years, obviously due to the pandemic, but the Pride event that happens every summer in Leeds City region is obviously something you guys may well have seen. Fantastic, vibrant event. And again, this is just, part of Leeds City region's commitment to being inclusive and welcoming to kind of everyone that lives here. Next slide, if you would. Lovely, thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the kind of support that's available to you guys as current students and graduates or soon to be graduates in the Leeds City region. And I think the message I'd like to impart to all of you is that support is available as you look to take that next step from student to hopefully someone that works and lives in Leeds City region full time. As I mentioned at the start of the presentation, I was in a very similar position to you guys about 7 years ago or so when I graduated. I kind of knew that I wanted to stay in Leeds. I grew up just outside of London in kind of a London suburb, which is a nice place to live, but I knew that I didn't want to live there, and I knew that Leeds was the place I wanted to be. So I was at that stage of kind of going through that uneasy transition, but I'm really happy that Leeds is the place that I've ended up working in for the past few years, and can see myself staying here for a long time. So I mentioned the Skills for Growth team is the team that I work in, and my current role involves helping connecting businesses with universities, colleges. So I'm very aware of the kind of obstacles that are being faced by people and businesses at the moment in terms of kind of hiring and getting hired, and also aware of the opportunities for collaboration for those parties as well. I think the first thing to say is, while you're still a student and while you're still at university, is take advantage of the careers hubs that are at your university. It's kind of one thing that I always heard about while I was at university and kind of thought, yeah, I'll get to that later, and never did. And it was probably to my detriment. I think it probably would have made that transition a lot easier if I was engaging with the careers hubs and the events and kind of workshops and initiatives that they were putting on. Great opportunity to learn from people, network with fantastic companies that are really keen to engage with current students for a number of different reasons. The team I'm in, we're always working closely with careers teams and subject leads to help bring businesses into universities, to have conversations with you guys about employability skills and careers paths. It's important to realize it's kind of a two-way thing. Companies want to come and talk to you guys because they want you guys to come and work for them. So if you think of it in that sense, it's really valuable networking opportunities for you guys that are being presented. So I'd definitely recommend taking full advantage. Some examples of that kind of work is, we've done careers panels with the University of Leeds, focusing on the future of working practices and skills for the future of work. So we've had some great companies come in and talk about what they're looking for future employees. Insight videos recorded for students by people who are currently working in the Leeds City Region, again talking about the skills inherent to their work and the type of kind of career paths that they've taken. We're always really keen to set up mentoring sessions with business leaders. That's been through Leeds Trinity, but I know a lot of the other universities in the area have set up similar things for their students. And then obviously you've got things like internships, work experience, placements, sandwich years that are available through some courses, interview practice sessions. Like I said at the top of the slide, take full advantage of those kind of things while you still have the time as a student. It just makes that transition from student to worker so much easier, and you can get a lot of really valuable assistance and start making some really, really strong networks while you're still studying. Which just makes that next step so much easier. Next slide, if you would. Thank you very much. So I spoke a little bit at the start about the type of businesses I usually work with in my current role. A lot of those businesses would be classed as SMEs, or small medium enterprises. And we're really keen to make sure that these smaller businesses have the opportunity to engage with you guys as students for a number of different reasons, mainly that small medium enterprises make up 99% of the business population in Leeds City Region. So we heard from Meg earlier about the large businesses. They obviously make a massive difference to our economy, and they're kind of the flagship businesses that are often talked about as part of Leeds City Region. But the reality is that 99% of the businesses that operate here are those small medium enterprises. So they're the backbone of our economy. We need to make sure that people know about them and that people can go and work for them, and that they're set up to kind of receive the amazing graduate talent that we have in the area. Working with SMEs, so many different advantages to kind of seeking employment with larger organizations. There's opportunities to learn variety of skills, kind of advance your career quickly, join tight-knit teams. I think there's a lot of people, and I speak from experience here, and kind of my peers and people I'm friends with have advanced their careers really quickly working with those small medium enterprises. So absolutely something I'd encourage you guys to be looking for when you're scouring those job lists. Don't just be put off by looking for brand name recognition. Take a little bit of time to look at those smaller businesses, because we've got some fantastic ones in the area. I've mentioned some in the top right corner there. So people like Sticks and Glass, they're a post-production suite who work really closely with Channel 4, and Channel 4 actually outsourced some of their post-production work to Sticks and Glass. Produmax, who design and manufacture aerospace engineering parts. They're leading on a new initiative in the area called the Yorkshire Space Hub. There's a company called AgriSound who use sensor technology to measure pollination through bees and drive positive ecological change. All of these companies doing really innovative things. And if you think you're joining a small team, the chance to learn something new and kind of move up the ranks quite quickly is definitely there in those companies. I should also mention we've got a bunch of marketing and PR firms. Digital marketing is absolutely massive, as Meg mentioned. So those people are always looking for people with digital skills. So that is definitely something I'd encourage you guys to be kind of thinking about as you move into the job market. Talks a little bit about desired skills in the bottom corner. Communication, I don't think I've ever spoken to a company who didn't want people that are good communicators. Digital skills, yeah, massive, having that. And that includes everything from just kind of, you know, Microsoft Office, email proficiency to stuff, you know, like editing software, Photoshop, Figma, that kind of thing. Really, really useful. Anything you can do to boost your CV or portfolio is going to be massive. Teamwork, you know, a lot of you will have done kind of group projects at university. That is a massive, massive skill and something that companies are really want to see you able to evidence. And innovative thinking as well. You know, some of you have spent 3 or 4 years with you know, thinking about kind of cutting edge technology, cutting edge processes. Bring that forward into your CV. Talk about that. Think about what you can bring to a company when it comes to innovation, because that's something they want. If they're hiring a graduate, they want someone who can think outside the box and bring something new to their company. So that's just a little bit of a plug for, you know, the types of businesses that we have in the region, and getting you guys to think about, you know, where it is you might want to work. There's obviously massive attractive elements of working for a larger company, but there's also really attractive elements of working for someone smaller as well. Next slide, if you would, Meg. Thank you very much. So this is a little bit about kind of the different types of support that we as a LEP offer. One of the main things we offer for guys in your position is our Future Goals website. It's our dedicated all ages careers platform. And the kind of 3 main things that we aim to do through that is inspiration, informing people, and empowering people to kind of make the best choices when it comes to their career. A fair amount of the website is kind of signposting people to different you know, types of support in the region. So it's really good as kind of a first port of call if you're unsure on, you know, what it is you want to do with your career or your next steps. Talking of next steps, the Next Steps toolkit is really, really useful. I would encourage everybody on this call to go away after this and take a look at what's on offer there. We'll share these slides around afterwards, and there'll be links to all of these websites and things in there, by the way, so don't feel like you have to kind of navigate them now. But Next Steps toolkit is fantastic for everyone who kind of needs a bit of prompting and kind of the time and space to sit down and think, okay, here are my current skills, here's where I'd like to be in a few years, here's how I'm going to get there. So careers inspiration and careers journey videos from people that work in different sectors, CV writing and interview tips. We'll talk a little bit more about kind of the importance of a strong CV, and we've spoken a little bit about them already as well. But, you know, anything you guys can do to be working on that CV already and getting that into a good place is really good. Interviews as well. I always think interviews are kind of really terrifying the first time you do them, and the only way they get less terrifying is through practice. So would highly encourage people to kind of proactively address that while you can, and mapping your own skills as well. It's really hard to sit down sometimes and think, okay, this is my skill set, but some really great resources on the Future Goals Next Steps toolkit to help you do that. Try and keep it as updated as possible with news and events. There's always new things coming in terms of new initiatives in the region. So again, a great one-stop shop for things like that. Free adult training courses and resources. I'll talk about that in the next slide, if you would go to that, Megan. So Skills Connect is kind of one of the examples of the free adult training courses that we put on as a Leeds City Region. We're really lucky. I won't go into kind of the details of like political funding and devolution funding and everything like that, but we're really lucky to be able to put on things like the Skills Connect adult training courses, and they're really, really valuable as a resource, and I would say really, really high quality. So the fact that you can access them for free is a massive advantage, and something I would say please take full advantage of, because they're not going to stick around forever, and it's not always going to be an offer. They're a great opportunity to build on an existing skill set or potentially begin a pivot to a new skill set. A lot of our focus at the moment, as I'm sure you would have guessed throughout this presentation, is on digital skills and making sure people have correct digital skills. This is everything from basic digital literacy to kind of higher, more tech-led roles. We're known for our kind of digital sector in Leeds City Region, and we want to keep being known for that. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by having good talent in the region. So these courses are there to make sure we have that talent, and for you guys to be building up those skills and making yourselves more employable. One really, really good thing about the courses, apart from the fact that they're free, is that they're designed and run in conjunction with local employers. So employers have said to us, this is what we need, this is the type of person we'd like to hire, can you make sure that this stuff is included in the course? So your employability prospects after the course are massive because of what you've learned. Also, I'm pretty sure most of the courses, I know a lot of them, and I think it applies to every single one of them, have some kind of employer engagement aspect to it. So employers will usually come in, give employability sessions, look at people's CVs afterwards, that kind of thing. So again, really great chance for you guys to be kind of expanding your network and getting some, getting yourself in front of the right people when it comes to finding work. So yeah, I would 100% encourage you guys after this to be looking at those Skills Connect courses. If you feel like your CV needs a bit of a boost, these are perfect for you. If you feel like you want to hone your skills in a specific area that you haven't been able to yet, again, really perfect for you guys. We're developing some other ones kind of focusing on different areas. Healthcare, I know, is going to be one of our next ones, and there's going to be some kind of graduate specific ones that will be more general employability skills. So definitely keep an eye on that website as those develop. Next slide, if you would, Nick. Thank you. So the Employment Hub, the Leeds Employment Hub is kind of a dedicated space to helping people access employment and improve their employability prospects, but it's much more kind of tailored support. So it's usually one-to-one. You'd be working with an employer advisor who would help you kind of access support as and where you need and give you advice and guidance on how to advance your career. If you do graduate and find yourself out of work, I would 100% advise to kind of get in touch with the Employment Hub. They work with a lot of employers across the region, large and small. They've always got access to live vacancies, and they can work with you to kind of make sure your CV and your application forms are tailored for those vacancies, and that you have up-to-date information when it comes to accessing those vacancies. Like I said, it's one-to-one support. They've helped, like you can see there, over the course of 2019 to 2020, helped 5,000 people into work. Haven't seen the stats post 2020, but I know they were really influential in the pandemic in getting people into meaningful employment. And that's the thing that we want as a LEP, is meaningful employment for people. So people working in jobs that they're enjoying, that are kind of contributing something to the economy, and that are at the right kind of skill level for that person as well. So the Employment Hub, definitely worth engaging with if you find yourself in that position post-graduation. They do, you might have heard of the job centres or the Department for Work and Pensions. The Employment Hub are separate to those guys. They work kind of in similar ways, but they're not kind of job centres. So they're another way of getting that support you need when it comes to finding employment in the area. Yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm not an expert on this, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning, because I'm sure we've got a few people in this call today who might be in this position of having, being born in another country or holding a passport for another country, have come to the UK and specifically Leeds to study, and then are thinking, okay, I'd love to stay in the UK, I'd love to stay in Leeds, but I don't have a job lined up straight away, so I can't stay here, I'm going to have to leave. That's not the case. There's something called the graduate route visa. The website is there, and like I said, we'll share these slides with you guys afterwards so that you have access to that link. But I definitely recommend going away and kind of looking up the stipulations for the graduate route visa. It allows the holder to stay in the UK for up to 2 years following the completion of study. And the important thing is that you don't need to have a job lined up to be able to do that. It's not tied to a specific job. You're not being sponsored by a company. There are some costs associated with it, but it does mean that you can stay here and look for employment and not be kind of tied into a single contract with an employer while you're doing that. So would 100% recommend getting up to date with the information on there and seeing if that's something that might apply to you in your circumstances. Then lastly, I'll just mention our Enterprise West Yorkshire initiative. So this is fairly new as an initiative, as a project, and something that's still being developed in some parts. But for those of you thinking that, you know, I've already got a business idea, I know I want to work for myself, but I just don't know how to get that off the ground, we've recently started up a suite of programs called Enterprise West Yorkshire. Part of this specifically focuses on people who are about to leave education, or maybe, you know, have their first startup idea but don't really know how to get it off the ground. Lots of kind of tailored support, working closely with a company called Digital Remit, who are really good at kind of, you know, facilitating this kind of thing. So you'd work with a tutor, there's downloadable resources, there's kind of step-by-steps on legal stuff around starting a business, videos as well. I should mention it's really good for people who, you know, might have a vague idea. You don't have to come to these people with a fully formed business plan. It's as much about, you know, seeing if it's the right career step for you than it is actually kind of developing your business plan. So if you do find yourself in that position of thinking, I would like to know more about kind of setting up my own business and how I go about doing that, 100% you should engage with these guys and start kind of looking at the resources that are on that link in that slide. But it's fantastic program. Like I said, it's kind of being developed as we go. But yeah, something that I definitely encourage people to engage with and look at the support available through that. So that is kind of a whistle-stop tour through all the support that is available through the Leeds City Region Enterprise Partnership and the Combined Authority. I think to sum up, I'd kind of go back to something I mentioned earlier. Our plan and our kind of goal for the region is to make sure that Leeds City Region is a place where people can kind of thrive in the jobs they have. We want people to, first of all, be enjoying the work they do and find meaningful employment. And, you know, that could mean in terms of kind of salary, skill level, or just kind of job satisfaction as well. And there's so many different sectors, companies of all kind of shape and size out there that we're confident we can, you know, make that work for everyone who's kind of starting to enter the job market from the point of graduation. So please access that support that's there. It's there for you guys. It's meant to be accessible. It's meant to be taken advantage of. So please do make sure you're kind of engaging with that support as much as possible and taking full advantage, especially when it comes to things like funded training courses. Because yeah, I think they're absolutely invaluable in terms of giving you the skills that will hopefully be useful to finding a job. That's it from me. Meg, is there anything you wanted to add at all?
No, Josh, I think you summed it up perfectly, which is the local enterprise partnership is responsible for economic growth, and we are measured pretty much solely on job creation. So we are a facility that we'd like you to take advantage of, because we want to facilitate you getting into meaningful employment, but also into a job you really love in a sector that you're really passionate about. So we, like I say, we'll circulate slides. We'll put some good links in there as well. But we'd definitely recommend getting in touch with them via the future goals inquiry form.
Yeah, wonderful. Like we said before, if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or ask them out loud. I know it's somewhat daunting being 40 plus people on the call, but do feel free to shout out if you have any questions at all.
Just while we wait, just to see whether anyone has got any questions, just a reminder that this is the first in a series of events taking place this week. So we've got loads more. I think we've got 7 more events taking place this week with a lot of the companies that Megan ran through at the start. I'm also just going to pop a link to a brief feedback form into the chat. It's more so that we can evaluate what you guys thought of it and how we can improve for future sessions and what you'd like us to deliver. So if you have got half a minute just to share your thoughts in that feedback form, it shouldn't take longer than that, and we'd really appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much. And we've got a question there. It's come through as a direct message to me, so I'll read it out if that's all right. So the question was, I was wondering what the number is of international students getting jobs in Leeds and which industry employs the largest number of fresh graduates. I don't know whether either of you are going to have those numbers to hand, but generally speaking, is that something you'd be able to answer, do you think?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers to hand in terms of international students. I know that the desire is there from companies, and one thing that's really attractive in terms of international students is obviously you're a student that's just studied at University of Leeds, so you have a strong, or a university in Leeds, I should say, so you have kind of a strong education, but you've also come from a diverse background, which means the ideas you're bringing to the business might be something fresh and something new. And businesses are all about getting kind of new, different people in the door. So yeah, the desire is absolutely there. Even if I can't tell you the exact figure of international students employed, I know that businesses are really, really keen to engage with high-level talent from different countries. I think the second question was around the types of industries that people are looking to employ graduates in. Meg, I don't know if you can speak on this. I know obviously digital is something we've talked about a lot, and that's only going to get bigger as far as I can see, but anything from you guys in T&I that you can speak about?
Yes, so again, I don't have the actual figures, but I know, unsurprisingly, the tech and digital sector has seen huge growth, even more so during the pandemic. That's UK-wide. As a region, our digital employment sector, our digital employment has grown by maybe almost 40%, and that is larger than anywhere else in the country, which is fantastic. A lot of that is graduates. A lot of that is people who are, like Josh said, pivoting their careers and wanting to move into maybe a coding career. So definitely tech, and also tech in the health sector as well with NHS Digital. That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think with that, we see a lot of stuff around data and AI. Like I said earlier, the Skills Connect training, if you look at that, that kind of gives you a hint at to where we need people, because like I said, that training's been requested by businesses to make sure that, we've got the right talent in the right places. So if you look on there at the moment, there's a lot of training around software development, digital marketing, data skills. All of those things, I think, are massive in terms of what companies are looking for at the moment, and are pretty good kind of places to start aiming. But again, it shows the value of things like the Skills Connect training courses, because you can almost use them as a bit of a template to see, okay, what skills are actually in demand at the moment. And obviously, we know the best candidates will have a range of different skills and be able to bring them to the table. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I got a direct message from someone as well asking about the graduate visa and how you apply. I'll put the link in the chat now. Like I said, I'm not an expert on the graduate visa, so I don't want to kind of say this is how you apply, because it's not something that I am really familiar with. It's not something I deal with day to day. It's just something I'm aware of, and I wasn't aware of before I started this job, so just wanted to make sure that everyone else is aware of. But I'll put the link in the chat now, and if you follow that, it should answer questions on how exactly you apply and you know, what costs are associated and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, just to say on that, it's also not, it's not my area of expertise either, but do speak to your career service, whether you're a student or a graduate. Have a look at their website, have a look online. There's loads and loads of information out there on lots of different sites. And if you are still a student, speak to the International Student Office or whatever it's called at your university. They'll be able to give you, it is their area of expertise, so they'll be able to give you much more precise information about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we've received any more questions. I've just posted in the chat. Oh,
I just got one more question about the entrepreneur workshops and whether international students can sign up for it. As far as I know, you should be able to access all the support through that even if you are a current student. I'll put the link to that in the chat as well, so that you guys can kind of read through and see what we've got coming up.
Great. Well, yeah, thanks a lot everyone for attending. As we said, Josh has put a lot of links there. We will make sure that we get this information to you in some form, depending on how you signed up. So we will get that over to you. I've posted again the link to the rest of the events coming up this week. We'd love to see you there. And also the link to the feedback form, just if you've got 30 seconds to tell us, would be amazing. But thank you very much to Josh and Megan. Thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for attending. I hope to see you at a future InLeeds event later on this week. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Nice one. Cheers, guys. See you in a bit.